manubishtam swapitam nabhutare Swayam Rupagamayam Dadati Svavadantikam Vandeham Shiguro Surita Padakamalam Shigurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sahagarajatam Saganaraganatam Mitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Varijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Saganarita Shri Vishakamitam Scha Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutare Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namini Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Prachari Nirvishesha Sinnavadi Prastita Deshatarine Vanchakarpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhaivacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavandayaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namani Gaura Vishe Namah Ye Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpake Visha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostite Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, everybody. Those who are assembled and those who will hear the recording, I Dandavat Pranams. I am grateful to Damodar Leela Mataji for giving me the opportunity to serve everybody today. Forgive me for my faults and my inabilities to perform this seva nicely, but by the mercy of Guru and Gauranga, the assembled Vaishnavas, that a wretched person like me can engage in some seva. And I am extremely grateful. I pray to all of you, to our Guru Janas, Lord Nityananda, Lord Chaitanya, Radha Krishna, and all of their associates, that they will somehow empower me with the ability to speak something nicely on this verse, which we'll read today, first canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 13, verse 40. Please offer your blessings to this wretched soul. I will share a screen and we can start with the class. Seems like every time I use this, it changes how you do it. Got it.
You see the green box that says...
Everybody seeing okay? All right. I tried to prepare some thoughts and some verses to share with us so we can relish this the nectar of Harikatha. So 113.40. Karandara iva pade bhagavan pavadarshakaha atab vamvaste bhagavan narado muni satatam uttamaha. Can everybody hear okay? Am I loud enough?
Yes.
Thank you. Karnadara iva pade bhagavan paradakshanaha darshakaha atam atabham vashe bhagavan hrido munisat tatmaha. Anandara Hiva Pare Bhagavan Paradarshaka Atabham Se Bhagavan Narado Muni Satamaha Tamaha. Anybody want to repeat the verse?
I can try to. Karnadhara iva pari Bhagavan Paradarshaka Atha Babhashi Bhagavan Narado Munisattama. Next to
Okay. Anybody else?
कर्णधार इवापारे भगवान् पारदर्शकः अदा बभाषे भगवान् नारदो मुनि सत्तमः.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Karnatara iva pare Bhagavan Paradarshaka Ata Baba Bashe Bhagavan Narado Munisatama. Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
सर्वधाराय व्यापारे भगवान् पारदर्शकः तथा प्रभाषे भगवान् नारदो मुनिसत्तमः.
Thank you. You sure you don't want to continue with the class, Mataji?
Please, thank you. I'm waiting for that. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. Next, anybody else?
Nitai Apare, Bhagwan Para Darshaka, Atapabhavashe Bhagavan Narada Muni Sattama.
Jai Prabhu. Haribol. Thank you. Anybody else?
कर्णाधार इव पारे भगवान् पारदर्शकः तथा आभासे भगवान् नारदो मुनिसत्तमः.
Thank you. Karnadharadaha, captain of the ship, Eva, like Pare, in the extensive oceans, Bhagavan, representative of the Lord, Paradarshaka, one who can give directions to the other side, Ata, thus, Abhashabashe, begin to say, Bhagavan, the godly personality, Naradaha, the great sage Narada, Muni Sat Tamaha, the greatest among the devotee philosophers. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. You are like a captain of a ship in a great ocean. You can direct us to our destination. Thus addressed, the godly personality, Deva Rishi Narada, greatest of the philosopher devotees, began to speak. Report. There are different types of philosophers, and the greatest of all of them are those who have seen the personality of Godhead, and have surrendered themselves in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Among all such pure devotees of the Lord, Devarishi Narada is the chief, and therefore he has been described herein as the greatest of all philosopher devotees. Unless one has become a sufficiently learned philosopher by hearing the Vedanta philosophy from a bona fide spiritual master, one cannot be a learned philosopher devotee. One must be very faithful, learned, and renounced. Otherwise, one cannot be a pure devotee. A pure devotee of the Lord can give us direction towards the other end of nescience. Devarishi Narada used to visit the palace of Maharaj Yudhisthira because the Pandavas were all pure devotees of the Lord, and the Devarishi was always ready to give them good counsel whenever needed. Gurave Gaura Chandraya Radhikaya Tadalaya Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gaurish. We're continuing with this chapter where King Dhritarashtra has left the palace of Maharaj Yudhisthira after being instructed by Vidura. So Vidura being a great Mahatma, a great soul, a Mahatma, a great soul. He has he's studied nicely with many elevated Vaishnavas like Hare Krishna. I don't know what happened, but are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, I don't, did you hear any, what part were you not able to hear? For some reason, things went wacky technically. So I think somehow I got kicked off or something. Did we hear anything that was going on? Did we hear the verse?
I heard the verse, and then I think you were getting into the purport.
Oh, so you missed the purport. Okay. Let's try this again. Okay, I'll read the purport again. There are different types of philosophers, and the greatest of all of them are those who have seen the personality of God and have surrendered themselves to the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Among all such pure devotees of the Lord, Devarishi Narada is the chief, and therefore he has been described herein as the greatest of all philosopher devotees. Unless one has become a sufficiently learned philosopher by hearing the Vedanta philosophy from a bona fide spiritual master, one cannot be a learned philosopher devotee. One must be very faithful, learned, and renounced. Otherwise, one cannot be a pure devotee. The pure devotee of the Lord can give us direction towards the other end of nations. Devarishi Narada used to visit the palace of Maharaj Yudhisthira because the Pandavas were all pure devotees of the Lord. And the Devarishi was always ready to give them good counsel whenever needed. Okay, you can hear now? Everybody can hear?
Yes, Prabhu, we can hear.
Okay, Jai. So what I was trying to say was, or what I was saying, that it sounds like most of you that we had missed, I was that Narada Muni is now appearing on the scene of Maharaj Yudhisthira, going around the palace looking for his uncle, both uncles, who had just left. So Vidura had just came back after hearing from many great devotees, the transcendental words of Krishna Bhakti, and he appeared and gave good counsel to his older brother, who was staying under the protection, under the house of Maharaj Yudhisthira, which I was reflecting on how amazing Yudhisthira Maharaj is, that he accepted his uncle Dhritarashtra even after so many atrocities that his uncle and his uncle's kids, the Kurus, headed by Duryodhana, his cousins, trying to kill him constantly. Such an amazing devotee that he's not having any animosity, but his service attitude is exemplary, and his affection for his uncle it's almost it's quite astonishing. If I was to put myself in his shoes, I don't know that I could have such a vision as Maharaj Yudhisthira, and his feelings of lament that we heard previous verses that they have left if I made some offense. So Narada's coming to give good counsel, as Prabhupada ends his purport with. So I was contemplating this verse, and I was thinking of how this great ocean is Narada. He's saying that Narada Muni, you're a captain on the ship captain on this great ocean, I was thinking that this in Bhagavad Gita, it's explained that there's this material world is like a perverted reflection of the spiritual world. I was thinking that when we talk about the ocean of material existence, there's also another ocean, and Rupa Goswami wrote about that ocean, that Bhakti Rasa Amrita Sindhu, that great ocean of Bhakti Rasa, of the mellows of the great taste of serving, of devotional service to the Lord, and how these two oceans, this ocean of material existence, so many waves that bombard the living entity, lust, anger, greed, pride, illusion, these are constantly being falling on the heads of the conditioned souls. So Lord Krishna, when he expands himself into Lord Krishna has unlimited energies, internal potency, or three main potencies. Those unlimited potencies, three are described as prominent: the internal, or Swoop Shakti, which is combined of Sandini, Samvit, and Hladini Shaktis. There's the external energy, or the Bahiranga Shakti, the Maya Shakti. And there's the Tatashta Shakti, or the Jiva Shakti. That Jiva Shakti, there are two types of living entities as described: those who are eternally liberated, whose face is always turned toward Krishna, and is the eternally conditioned, whose face is turned to the material world, trying to extract enjoyment from this world. Lord Chaitanya talks about some of this in the 22nd chapter of the Madhya Lila. I've thought to read some of these. It's very nice description. Starting with text 10, the living entity and jivas are divided into two categories. Some are eternally liberated and others are eternally conditioned. Those who are eternally liberated are always awake to Krishna consciousness, and they render transcendental loving service at the feet of Lord Krishna. They are to be considered eternal associates of the Lord, and they are eternally enjoying the transcendental bliss of serving Krishna. These living entities, they are always within the spiritual world, unless they come to the material world to deliver the conditioned souls. We see that in the Lord's Leela. We see that in times where the Lord wants to give special mercy to the living entities, like we saw Srila Prabhupada had come to preach the message of Lord Chaitanya throughout all the worlds. So these eternally liberated devotees, Nityasiddhas, are described here as eternally enjoying the bliss, the transcendental bliss of serving Krishna. Apart from the ever liberated devotees are the conditioned souls, known as Nityabada, who always turn away from service of the Lord. They are perpetually conditioned in this material world and are subjected to the material tribulations brought about by different bodily forms and hellish conditions. Due to being opposed to Krishna consciousness, the conditioned soul is punished by the witch of the external energy Maya. He is thus ready to suffer the threefold miseries, Adhyatmika, Adhibodhika, Adhidaivaka. The miseries brought about by the body and the mind, the inimical behavior of other living entities, and natural disturbances caused by the demigods. In this way, the conditioned soul becomes the servant of lusty desires. When these are not fulfilled, he becomes a servant of anger and continues to be kicked by the external energy Maya. Wandering and wandering throughout the universe, he may, by chance, get the association of a devotee physician whose instructions and hymns make the witch of the external energy flee. The conditioned soul thus gets in touch with devotional service to Lord Krishna, and in this way he can approach near and nearer to the Lord. We have the verse Adao Shraddha Sadhu Sangha. This verse from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu that explains the progression the living entity makes by contact with a great physician devotee. He begins to have some faith in the Shastra and in the service of the Lord, and thus continues to engage in the sadhu sangha, and that sadhu engages them in such activities which brings one closer and closer to the Lord. O my Lord, there is no limit to the unwanted orders of lusty desires. Although I have rendered these desires so much service, they have not shown any mercy to me. So a devotee who begins to understand the futile attempts of enjoying the external energy of the Lord, of trying to be the enjoyer, begins to pray like this. I have not been ashamed to serve them, nor have I even desired to give them up, O my Lord, head of the Yadu dynasty. Recently, however, my intelligence has been awakened, and now I am giving them up. Due to transcendental intelligence, I now refuse to obey the unwanted orders of these desires. And I now come to you to surrender myself at your fearless lotus feet. Kindly engage me in your personal service and save me. So the living entity who's been wandering about the material world, getting dunked into the ocean continuously of the material existence by the waves of lust, anger, greed, pride, illusion, and all of these inauspicious and all this inauspicious things, by some causeless mercy, comes in contact with a devotee and begins to understand the importance of devotional service and begins to get dragged out. Later on, Lord Chaitanya continues, the conditioned souls are wandering throughout the different planets of the universe, entering various species of life. By good fortune, one of these souls may somehow or other be delivered from the ocean of omniscience, just as one of the many big logs of a flowing river may by chance reach the bank. This is a very descriptive verse where we can see big logs going down the river, and or even if you ever go to the ocean, especially the Oregon coast, you can see very big logs washed up on shore. So somewhere in Srimad Bhagavatam, I don't remember the verse, but it talks about by the mercy of the Guru, that this vast ocean of material existence becomes so small, like the size of a hoofprint of a calf, that one can easily cross over. There's that analogy. And then there's also this one that we're currently talking about, where the living entity gets picked up from the ocean of material existence and put onto the boat of the mercy of the lotus feet of Guru. So, so if the conditioned soul engages in the service of the Lord and simultaneously carries out the orders of his spiritual master and serves him, he can get out of the clutches of Maya and become eligible for shelter at the lotus feet of Krishna. I like the description, Srila Prabhupada, that this material consciousness is like a chain around the neck of the conditioned soul. As long as he is bound by that to that conception, he cannot get out of Maya's clutches. However, if by Krishna's mercy he gets in touch with the bona fide spiritual master, abides by his orders, and serves him, engaging other conditioned souls in the Lord's service, and he then attains liberation and Lord Krishna's shelter. So I was thinking about some of these. I was thinking, right, Lord Chaitanya is really hammering down in this chapter, chapter 22. It's a very, very nice chapter of Madhya Lila. Sometime you can go back and read it. It's full of so much nectar. I was thinking about how Lord Chaitanya is hammering the way the living entity is suffering in this mature world. And I was thinking, well, we're not the International Society for Maya is a bad place to be consciousness, but the International Society for Krishna consciousness. And how do we, this verse kind of helps for me to bridge this gap. The orders of the spiritual master is to hear and chant, to engage in the process of devotional service. So that is the means and the ways to get out of the material consciousness. It's not about falsely renouncing, as we see. One of these verses, I thought I had a verse up that talks about the, I think it's right here. Somehow or other, if one is attracted to talks about me and has faith in the instructions I have set forth in the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, it doesn't have this Bhagavad Gita, but this is a nice point Srila Prabhupada puts out, that in the verse we see it's saying, talks about me, and talk mat kata adao, and talk about me. So if Jat Shraddha has awakened, so the attraction for hearing about talks of me, and Srila Prabhupada's pointing out in the Bhagavad Gita, and if one is neither falsely detached from material things, nor very much attracted to material things, his dormant love for me will awaken by devotional service. So, as bhaktas of Lord Krishna, following in the footsteps of Srila Rupa Goswami, who is ordered by Lord Chaitanya to instruct the living entities in the process of devotional service, is pointing out that he points out the same thing in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, that this Bhagavatam verse is saying that the goal of life is not to give up or be overly renounced or overly attached to the things of this material world, but to be attached to hearing about Krishna. And by hearing and chanting and sharing that Lila Kata, that Hari Kata, the Nam, chanting the holy name together, when we share these things with each other in the association of devotees, this awakens love for Krishna. And when our love for Krishna awakens, we no longer have an attraction to these things. But how do we gain this attraction to hearing and chanting? By associating with sadhus. Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Shastrakai. The verdict of all revealed scriptures is that by even a moment's association with a pure devotee, one can attain all success. So the one of the most important parts of developing love for Krishna, Prema Bhakti, is Sadhu Sangha, because those sadhus are embodiments of that prema for Krishna. It's explained that we don't want Krishna, but we want love for Krishna, because Duryodhana had Krishna, Shishupal had Krishna. All these different demons, Putana had Krishna, was actually feeding on her breast. I mean, how much closer can you get? But they didn't have love for Krishna, so they didn't appreciate. So by the association of sadhus, even for a moment, this purport, Prabhupada says that I'll have an 11th of a second. That's like so little bit of time that sadhu can inject prema bhakti into the heart. This is the power of sadhu sangha that any serious practitioner of devotional service should take advantage of. So by hearing and chanting, following the orders of the spiritual master means to, or I've heard where it's said that to serve a pure devotee is to follow the orders of, to follow the instructions of. And when the instructions are followed, they deliver us to the lotus feet of Krishna. So what is a sadhu? Srimad Bhagavatam gives symptoms of a sadhu. The symptoms of a sadhu is that he is tolerant, merciful, and friendly to all living entities. He has no enemies. He is peaceful. He abides by the scriptures, and all his characteristics are sublime. In one Srila Prabhupada's pointing out that he goes door to door preaching, become a devotee of Krishna, just like Lord Nityananda and Haridas Thakur were doing. He says further down here, even when Lord Nityananda was violently attacked by Jagai Mada, he still went on. When one class, Srila Prabhupada was saying that Sadhu means a pure devotee of Krishna, that all of one's activities are involved, are engaged in remembering Krishna and sharing that with others. So we came across. So Narada Muni has entered the scene, and being a sadhu, a Deva Rishi, he is throughout the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam. You see that he is delivering person after person, from Dhruva to Prahlad to Valmiki to Yudhisthira. Here, throughout the ages, he is wandering around the universe from the spiritual world. Probably even, I don't know, if I've never heard of him being down in the hellish planets, but I'm sure he goes down there to give association to Yamaraj as well. But I don't have praman for that one. But being a broad-minded and compassionate devotee of the Lord, he is ready to give his mercy to everybody. So Srila Prabhupada, in this purport, he I saw this line, which I thought was very nice. One must these two lines: unless one has become a sufficiently learned philosopher by hearing the Vedanta philosophy from a bona fide spiritual master, one cannot be a learned philosopher devotee. One must be very faithful, learned, and renounced. Otherwise, one cannot be a pure devotee. So we may take this and think, oh, I have to be a scholar, have to, be a tyagi or someone in the renounced order in order to be a pure devotee. But we see that throughout Lord Chaitanya's pastimes, Lord Chaitanya's pastimes are a very great example of devotees interacting with each other. So we see that many of Lord Chaitanya's devotees were in the Grahastha ashram. So it's not about being renounced in the way of taking sannyas or bhavajivesh or whatever, but the renunciation of the enjoying spirit. And that comes from engaging in the process of devotional service. It's like a byproduct. It's said that knowledge and renunciation are like the children of bhakti. They come on their own accord, like a concomitant factor. Just by engaging in the process, it happens. So there's the example where Lord Chaitanya, he came to South India, and there was a Brahmin who was reading Bhagavad Gita, and he was weeping. And all of the big pundits around were laughing at him because he was reading it not so nicely. He wasn't a very good reader. He didn't have good Sanskrit or whatnot, but he was following the instructions of his guru, who said to read Bhagavad Gita every day. So he was doing the best he could, and he was experiencing bhakti rasa. He was experiencing a taste in doing that, and hearing about the Leela of Lord. And Lord Chaitanya asked him, are you crying? Is everything okay? He's, I'm weeping because Lord Krishna, although he is the source of everything, he is the master and controller of the material and spiritual worlds. He is acting as chariot driver for Arjuna. He is serving his devotee. And that is so beautiful and so wonderful. And Lord Chaitanya said, you are a great soul. Even though he was not as learned as all of the others in the area, Lord Chaitanya appreciated his faith and his absorption. So these are some thoughts. Today happens to be a day where the Rath Yatra in Puri is taking place. And two of Lord Chaitanya's associates disappeared on this day. One was a householder, one was a sannyasi, both very dear to the Lord, both amazing sadhus, Shivananda Sen and Swarup Damodar Goswami. Shivananda Sen was such a wonderful devotee. His son became Kavi Karnapur, who wrote some beautiful Sanskrit poetry. He was so learned, so devotional. Ananda Vrindavan Champu was a commentary on Srimad on 10th Canto was written by him, which is a very beautiful book, I've been told. So Shivananda Sen would every year gather the devotees of Navadvip and of Gaudadesh and bring them all to Puri for Rath Yatra, and they'd stay for some months to take Lord Chaitanya's association and to chant the holy name together. So one time there was a dog that came with them. Shivananda Sen was feeding the dog prashadam. He was being very compassionate. So this is one of the symptoms of a sadhu that we read from Srimad Bhagavatam, that he's very, very compassionate. So due to the mercy of such a devotee as Shivananda Sen, that dog, when he reached Jagannath Puri, Lord Chaitanya delivered him from the material world. So one of the examples of getting the mercy of a devotee, when a pure devotee is merciful to us, the Lord showers his mercy on us. So by the mercy of the great sadhus, the great devotees of the Lord, the ocean of material existence turns into the ocean of bhakti ras. And we can swim and dive deep and deep and deep, so deep. Lord Chaitanya said that the ocean of bhakti is so deep that one cannot find the bottom. So this, the power of sadhu sangha starts from Shraddha, or Shraddha starts from the association of sadhu sangha. From sadhu sangha, Shraddha awakens within the heart of the living entity. And through the processes of Bhajana Kriya, Nartana Vritti, all the way up to Prema, sadhu sangha will be needed throughout every stage and then relished in the stages of Prema as well. So sadhu sangha is the constant companion of the living entity throughout the process of awakening their love for Krishna. Shivananda Sen was can be read about through the pages of Chaitanya Charitamrita. And Swarup Damodar Goswami, I can't even describe the conditioned soul like me can't even begin to touch on the qualities of Swarup Damodar. He was he was like Lord Chaitanya's heart and soul. He was so connected to Lord Chaitanya that if Lord Chaitanya was in a certain mood, he would sing a kirtan in that mood for Lord Chaitanya's relishment. Some say he was Lalita, some say he was Vishaka in Lord Chaitanya, in Krishna's Leela. But either way, he's a very intimate associate in his Vraj Sarup of Srimati Radharani. And Lord Chaitanya, being in Srimati Radharani's mood, always relished his company. He was empowered with such deep rasa that no matter what mood Lord Chaitanya was feeling, he knew. He could explain the deepest esoteric, simple and esoteric points of Vrindavan rasa. And by Lord Chaitanya's mercy, Raghunath Das Goswami was given under his care. And by the mercy of Raghunath Das Goswami, Chaitanya Charitamrita was compiled. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami would hear every day for hours and hours, I think 3 hours every day, sort of Raghunath Das Goswami would speak the Leela of Lord Chaitanya at Radhakund. And most of what he spoke was from the notes of Sarup Damodar Goswami. So you can read about those two devotees today in on their disappearance day, and both were always there to support Lord Chaitanya in the Rath Yatra festival, which is also, from what I understand, happening today. So there's no lack of relishment that we can experience in the realm of Krishna Katha. The limitation is only our own. And by the association of pure sadhus, pure devotees of the Lord, we can develop more and more taste for the hearing and chanting of the name, form, qualities, and pastimes of the Lord. And I pray that we all continuously bathe our ears and our tongues and our minds in the nectar of the ocean of Bhakti Rasa at the feet of Lord Chaitanya and Radha Krishna. Forgive me for forgive me for all of my shortcomings in presenting, and if there are any corrections or questions or discussion points, please share your thoughts or feelings, and forgive me, and thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu, for very nice lecture and delving into Chaitanya Charitamrita, as well as the nature of our Guru and pastimes of these two great personalities. Would anybody like to have comments, reflections, questions?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you for this wonderful class. I really like the comparison you made between the ocean of material world and the ocean of Bhakti Rasa. So thank you so much. You weave that throughout your lecture. And also for sharing about these great personalities, Shivananda Sen and Swarup Damodar Goswami today. And also one point which when you said whether Narad Muni visits the other like lower planetary systems, so I think there is a mention about that when he goes and meets Prahlad over there. So yeah, thank you very much. Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Any other comments or reflections?
Hare Krishna, Bala Nitai Prabhu. Thank you so much. Very nice class. I really liked the weaving of the Chaitanya Charitamrita points and the instructions of Lord Chaitanya to Sanatana Goswami's 22nd chapter, the definition of the sadhu that you mentioned. So thank you for very nicely and sweetly sharing all these points.
Thank you, Prabhu. Glories to the Guru Janas, because I have nothing without the mercy of the sadhu. So I'm just felt some inspiration by the mercy of the Lord, and thank you for accepting and appreciating everybody.
You're easy to accept and appreciate.
Yes.
Remember,
that was the broad-minded mercy of all of you.
You were speaking of Shivananda saying, I remember that past time I heard once when Lord Srinityananda Prabhu appeared at his household. I guess it was later in night, and he had this, kind of transcendental hunger. And Shivananda saying, for some reason, was delayed, I guess. And so Lord Nityananda Prabhu developed transcendental anger and said, I curse us 3 sons to die, Shivananda Saint's sons. And Shivananda Saint's wife, imagine Nityananda Prabhu saying something that strong. His wife starts crying. And eventually Shivananda Saint Prabhu showed up on the scene and he said, why are you crying? And she explained the curse of Nityananda Prabhu. And said, if that's the desire of Sri Nityananda Prabhu, then let my sons die, kind of like, the pastime that occurred with Srivas Pandit. And subsequently, Shivananda Saint got kicked in the chest by Nityananda Prabhu. And, and he said then that I know you've accepted me as your servant. And, here's the curse of Nityananda Prabhu, that all 3 sons die, and what happens? A son becomes Kavi Karnapur, a profound devotee. So it's like, Gaur Govinda Maharaj was saying that one lecture, he was commenting on Gita 2.7, where Arjuna says, Shishyata Hamsati Mam Tvam Parpanam. I've become your Shishya, I've become your disciple. And he made a statement that, and he connected it to that portion of Bhagavatam which talks about, where the sages at Namishranya say to Sutta Goswami, you're the captain, Karandahara, just like this verse. And he said, Karna also means the ear, the ear. And he said, Guru can catch hold of your ear and slap you. That it's like very much Gaur Govinda Maharaj's mood. Slap you and say, you rascal, what are you doing? The Guru has that right, and you have to accept it because he's Guru. So he said, it also means Sishyataham Sadhimam Tvam Prapadam also means I accept you as my Guru and please inflict very severe discipline on me. He says, Shadimam means inflict severe discipline. I read that some time back. I thought that was interesting that, like Shivananda Sain accepts as severe discipline from, his spirit guru in a way, Lord Nityananda. I mean, this is telling us that, this process of devotional life sometimes involves, some severe challenges, and it's a process to kind of remove some attachments. Because later on in the same chapter, Narad Muni gives him instruction that it's because of material affection that you're having this lamentation. And Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur says that it's interesting that here, this affection Narad Muni is saying is due to a sense of, the material nature of things, illusion. And he says, however, that same source of affection and attachment as a source of sadness leads to, sthai bhav. So it's very interesting, your comment about contrasting material and spiritual worlds and how emotions exist in both worlds. But since the point of attachment is Krishna, versus the point of attachment being, a bodily relationship that even a great soul like Maharaj Yudhishthira is experiencing, the outcomes are somewhat different. Anyways, so yeah, lots of interesting things in this. I'm always amazed that Maharaj Yudhishthira, being such a great personality, he's so ready to forgive those that have supposedly wronged him, Dhritarashtra and his sons. Whereas most of us would say, good riddance of that bhakta, caused a lot of distress in my life. He's now, moved to a different country or a different city. Yeah. Forgiveness is such a great quality. Thank you.
There's one more thing I forgot I wanted to share. So devotees who are still here, if they have not left, this Narottam Das Thakur talks about the 6 enemies of the heart, this lust, anger, greed, etc. And he talks about how he offers them in the service of the Lord. I offer my lust to the service of Krishna, my anger towards those who envy his devotees, and my greed towards association with saints and topics of Lord Hari. I am deluded without my beloved Lord, and I am proud when I sing Krishna's glories. Thus I engage all the enemies in Krishna's service. Otherwise, if these desires are used for selfish purposes, they become the abode of evil. What can lust and anger do to a practicing devotee when he is in the company of saints? The power of the sadhu, that these things flee away and we use them in the service of Krishna rather than have them. And this verse is in relation to where Raghunath Das Goswami is talking about how the on the highway there's the powerful robbers of lust, anger, greed who bind the neck of the devotee. It's like Prabhupada said, he uses chains. Raghunath Das Goswami is talking about ropes, and that the only way to be free from these powerful robbers is to call out to the devotees of the Lord. So when we call out to the devotees of the Lord and take their shelter, and they give us protection. Haribol.
Manasi Ganga Mataji is thanking you for a wonderful class.
Jai. Thanks, Mataji. Thank you all for accepting me in my attempts and encouragement. Thank you. All glories to Guru Varanga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada,
Srila Prabhupada ki
all
jai.
glories to all of you. Hare Krishna.
Okay, take care. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Should we end, Bhagavatam Prabhu?
If there's nothing else, yes, sure.
Bye-bye.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.